a little bit out of the way. Put it behind the ear. And then I put my index finger on your point. No other fingers involved. Just holding 0 point with very light pressure. Root of the outer ridge. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to hold that there for about 2 minutes in a session. And then I take my thumbs behind the outer ridge and start unfurling the outer ridge. I'm stopping here at the highest point and index finger underneath the underneath the outer ridge and thumb on top. So I'm squeezing gently the very highest point of the outer ridge where we have the allergy point. Somebody asked yesterday about allergy point. It's one of the functional points, and we will draw them in later. So this is just for acknowledging, and we'll talk about it later. Allergy point, very potent. It's almost everything on you. Then here's the bump. So where the bump, below the bump, that's where the spinal cord reflexes are. I can have the thumb behind the ear and index finger is going downward. That's actually tonifying very nicely. So unfurling or uncurling the outer ridge. Long movements. My thumb stays stationary behind the ear. Long movements.
I have a question, please. Does temperature affect or not, like cold hand, warm hand, or just body temperature?
Mine or your hand?
Your hands on my body. So your hand temperature are any different effective between cold hands, warm hands?
Warm hands are definitely better. Yeah. And then I just leave the thumb behind there, and I put the index finger at the base of the inner ridge for neck reflex. So the whole tip of the index finger now is on the cervical spine. My thumb behind is tilted up, so this part is in the groove behind. Every ridge has a groove behind it, right? So because there is another map behind there. And I'm squeezing. How's this pressure?
Light touch, but I feel pressure. I feel great.
Yeah. I'm not squeezing hard, but I flatten the ridge firmly. And we can feel a little bit on the ridge if it's even or if it's bumpy. If it's a very hard ridge or soft ridge. If we feel anything, we can just zoom in and put the tip of the finger in there. So this is, before it was pat to pat, now this is tip to pat. More targeted. And I can target a vertebrae by vertebrae by tip to tip. This is much more, right, Jenny?
Yes.
Yeah, this is my mafia hold. Only I call it that, right? You will not find that. Yeah, you will not find that in a textbook.
Or math teacher.
Or if, then please call me.
Slang. as Stephanie.
Mhm. And then we're just moving up the body of the inner ridge. We're not staying there much because it's so much more effective on the feet anyway.
Mm.
And coming up to the wide ridge. And here I will have you look for finding a hip reflex, or I will say the knee reflex, because the hip reflex is right above where the junction of the narrow ridge and the wide ridge is. So the hip reflex is right above, or at the lowest part of the wide ridge.
Mhm.
If I put it that way. The knee reflex is halfway up, and the foot reflex is all the way up there, almost under the rim of the outer ridge. So we'll see what I come up with. I probably let you hold the knee reflex or the foot reflex, depending on what hits me. So that's the leg reflex up there on the wide ridge. And then we can go into the narrow ridge. So we're sweeping the finger, only the index finger, underneath the narrow ridge, pull it towards us, and push toward the head. So it's a pull and push. I hook my finger underneath and flatten it out, flatten the ridge out. And here I'm going to stay another 3 minutes at least until the lower back starts to relax. Neck and lower back starts to relax after about a 3-minute hold.
Wow. That's good.
So no other fingers involved, only index finger. So I don't want you to have the finger on the head, or it just doesn't feel right.
Mm.
If you hold this for a long time, and you may, if there is pain, you hold it as long as the pain is not getting better anymore, right? So I can put my middle finger on top of the index finger to hold it. How's this pressure?
It's stronger than any of them, but it doesn't cause pain, so I'm still comfortable.
Good.
Stay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I usually use some tension here, pressure. I'm on the lower back ridge, lumbar ridge, flattening the narrow ridge,
Mm.
but indirect. My part of my finger is indirectly
I
on
see.
Shen Men
Okay.
and on the uterus reflex, but only indirect.
Yeah. I see.
So here I'm moving up now. I'm gently letting go of the ridge and moving up my index finger over the narrow ridge into the triangular valley. Sweep the 401s to address uterus reflex. And then find the junction, the tip of my finger, finding the junction for Shen Men. And squeeze gently and hold it. Shen Men pain control, stress reduction, tension release, anxiety, depression. So I'm implementing the master points where they fit naturally in, but there is no rule. So then I go to the lower valley. So I'm sweeping the floor to the lower valley. Lung reflex, heart reflex, mouth, esophagus. Coming up into the narrow upper valley there, to the upper valley. Sweeping the floor close to the root for small intestine, large intestine, and closer to the narrow ridge for kidney, ureters, urinary bladder, and if I would have a man here, then prostate too.
Mm-hmm. But it's the same exact location.
That was
just
my
like-
question. Yeah.
It's interesting how that just that same location on the ear varies, like knowing the genetics is in the region,
Mhm.
how it
Mhm.
for a man versus a woman.
And then we're going again into the triangular
Okay.
valley because that's the
That area.
yeah,
Okay.
and then into the long valley. Now my thumb stays behind the ear, and I'm just
Oh.
sweeping downward
Mhm.
between the outer and inner ridge in the long valley for the arm reflexes.
Yeah, the hand, wrist, forearm, elbow,
Exactly.
upper arm, shoulder.
And then I will have you find the shoulder reflex. See that little pronounced curve there?
Mm-hmm.
Extra curve?
Mm.
That's where the shoulder reflex is.
Next.
So we're gonna address that. Find that again, hold it, and then we're moving down to the end of the long valley for TMJ. That's another functional point which we will draw in later. That's at the very end of the long valley. So these were the valleys, and then in the routine we're going 3 times around the ear. We're really going behind the ear too. Face up, face lift, never
That's it.
down,
That feels amazing.
and behind the ear.
Mm-hmm.
Light
Here
touch.
are actually about here.
Adrenal gland.
Tristan, look about down here. There are actually tranquilizer points and other beautiful points. So this is a really nice
Okay, yeah.
thing to do. So 3 times around the ear,
Okay.
and then we do hold adrenal gland reflex. So I put my index finger underneath the face flap, lift it up a little bit because we don't want to close the ear canal. That doesn't feel right. And my thumb comes on top.
Mm-hmm.
On that face flap, we also have the appetite control point, which is another functional point. We'll talk about it later. But the adrenal point is on the edge here. But if we put our thumb on there, we're on both points.
Mm-hmm.
But the way I'm remembering it, why adrenal is on the edge, the point. Adrenaline, I'm on edge. Adrenaline is that on edge thing,
Mm-hmm.
the hormone.
It's fight or flight
Mhm.
thing.
Exactly.
That mechanism in our body that releases this from our. I'm learning all this too. The chemical, just that impulse, like
Mhm.
to get you
hmm
to.
Yeah, it shuts everything down, digestion down, and everything, but it lets us flee.
Uh-huh.
However, that's only part of the adrenaline. It's only part of the adrenal glands.
Mm-hmm.
The other part is that it produces cortisol, which is the body's
To balance
natural. It's the body's natural anti-inflammatory.
Oh,
So whenever there is inflammation in the body,
Mm-hmm.
we'll work in the adrenal too.
Mm-hmm. And is that's the balancing also? The it gets us that's a homeostasis.
Mhm. Yeah, it balances each
That's
other out.
okay.
So that was the face flap, and then we have the lobe. So I have my index finger stationary behind the lobe, and I have long sweeping motions on the lobe. Start close to the face here for the beautiful other points.
Mm.
Address the whole. Be careful of the hair. I don't pull the hair too much. And then stop at the head reflexes, brain reflexes actually, for headache. Now, watch. If I have my thumb like this on the brain reflex, now watch how I tilt my thumb. Watch on my thumb. I just tilt it up, and now I'm on the sinus reflex. Brain reflex,
Nice.
sinus reflex, closer to the notch.
Yeah.
Then I have the, I put my thumb all the way at the bottom on the inner wall here for subcortex, pain control.
Which is looking at the heart and lung area in a way, no?
No, I'm on the inner wall of the, I'm not in the belly, I'm on the inner wall of the lobe flap. What I haven't done is the other master point, sympathy point. So I push on the inner wall here. So I'm not pushing on the ridge, I'm pushing on the inner wall. And that's where the point is, inner wall of the outer ridge. For everything vascular circulation. My last hold is the notch between the flaps. I've just put my thumb in there. The tip of the thumb hits master endocrine hormonal internal secretion, hormonal balancing. So that's it. That's the whole routine, including the master point, which the master points are not part of the routine. You put them in when needed, as needed, and where they fit in.
Okay, so there's 6 steps. 6